Okay, let's review multiplying two radicals. Let's see number one. I'm getting my pencil. Where's my pencil? Okay, here. Let's see number one. Right, this is multiplication in between those two radicals. And the 15, we know we can split it into 5 and 3. So when we square root of 15, that's the square root of 5 times the square root of 3. So those two square root of 5s, we have square root of 5 times square root of 5. So that just becomes 5. Right? Then under the radical sign, we have 3. So that becomes 5 radical 3. Let's see 2. 14 can be split into 2 and 7. Of course, both under the square root sign. So basically 14, square root of 14 can be split as the square root of 2 times square root of 7. And square root of 35 can be split as the square root of 7 times the square root of 5. Now we see a square. We see square root of 7 multiplied by itself. So that just becomes 7. What about under the square root sign, under the radical sign? We have 2, we have 5. 2 times 5, which is 10. So the answer for 2 is a 7 radical 10. So this 2 is review for last video. Now let's look at 3. Let's observe the difference. 3, 4, 5, 6, right, are different from 1 and 2. What's the difference? The second, we have 2 radicals. So what do? So this is saying radical 2 is a common factor of radical 3 and negative radical 5. So I have to distribute just as, with any other numbers. We just have to multiply square root 2 with square root 3, which will get square root of 6, minus square root 2 times square root of 5, which is square root of 10. So 3 is seen as square root of 6 minus square root of 10. But because the square root of 2 is a factor of both, so it can be factored out as square root of 2 times parentheses square root of 3 minus square root of 5, right? Just two different representations, just like when we factor out any, other numbers, any integers or variables. So the factoring skill and the property is still the same. Now let's see 4. We need to distribute square root of 3 to square root of 27. Also, we need to multiply square root of 3 with square root of 3. So multiply those two, we see 27. 1 we can multiply 3 with 27, that's 81. Square root of 81 is 9. And so this is just one way. Another way is we see 27 is 3 times 9. So that means we have square root of 3, square root of 27 can be split into square root of 3 times square root of 9. Then we have radical 3 here, radical 3 here, we have square, that just becomes 3. Right, and the radical 9 is a 3, 3 times 3, so we did get 9. And now we multiply square root of 3 with square root of 3. A square root multiplied by itself, it just gets 3. Or 9 minus 3, that's 6. Okay, let's see 5. Same idea, we have two terms. We distribute square root 2. We distribute square root 2 to square root 10. And we see square root of 6 can be split into square root 2 times square root of 3. Same idea, square root of 10 can be split into square root of 2 times square root of 5. Then we see square root 2 is a common factor, right? You see square root 2 here, Square root 2 is here, so that means this is a common factor. We can just factor out square root 2 right this way. Why I factor out square root 2? Because I have square root 2 here already. If I factor out another square root 2, those two multiply gives me 2. Then what's left? I have square root 3, square root 5, right? So that means I have 2, because 2 is a common factor of both terms. I have 2 square root 3 plus 2 square root of 5. Well, there's no problem if you put a 2 outside the parentheses. Then inside the parentheses, you write as square root 3 plus square root of 5. Now let's say 6. Square root 7 times 3. Usually we like to write 3 up front because 3 is a number, rational number. We know exactly what it is. But square root 7 we can approximate. No one on earth knows it exactly. Then we have square root 7 times negative square root 7. So first we deal with sign first. We carry minus sign. Then we have square root 7 times square root 7. That's square root 7 squared. That just becomes 7. So the answer for 6 is 3 radical 7 minus 7. Let's see if I have more. Yes, we do. Okay, this is the last two. Let's do this with variables. Number 8 with variable. Let's see number 7 first. Again, we know already. We know we need to multiply those two. We need to multiply these two. So multiply these two, we see square root 5 squared, right? That just becomes 5. So 5 times 3, which is 15. Then minus 4 times square root 5 times square root 3. Well, 3 and 5 both prime numbers. That means 4 square root of 15. So this 15 is a rational number. And under the radical sign, 15 is this number squared to be 15. So this is an irrational number, 15 minus 4, radical 15. Let's say 8. We need to distribute square root of y or radical y into two terms, into y, the square root of y into negative radical 5. So multiply those two. By now, we know exactly, right? Multiply 2 of this, which is okay, 1 itself. Then minus the square root of 5 times the square root of y. So I can put them like this. Minus the square root of, so y minus the square root of 5y. That's the answer for number 8. Let's see if I have more. Okay, no more. So that's how we multiply one radical with 2 radicals. Okay, we distribute. Distribution means multiplication.